Hey, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us. My name is Eric Riddle, Executive Vice President of Sales and Marketing with Corporate Spending Innovations, CSI. With me today is Chris Dinkler. Chris is Senior Vice President, General Manager of Business Automation Services with Enverus, one of our new but very important partners. Excited to be talking to Chris today. Chris?
Yeah, it's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Sure. So why don't we just jump right in and start out with some questions? I think I have one that'll get us started. Maybe if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about your business. Tell us about what does business automation actually mean at Enverus? Maybe just give us kind of the profile of what it is that you do and how you add value to your clients.
Yeah, for sure. So I think it's good I appreciate you asking and thanks for having me. Enverus First is the oil and gas company's largest SaaS tech platform in the market. We have about 6,000 customers. We're about 450 million in revenue and about 1,500 employees. So we're a pretty sizable tech company for oil and gas. And with that, we provide production data, rig data, GG&E data, all kinds of analysis tools to our customers to help them really understand their business and make better decisions. The business automation business unit was formed through a few acquisitions, and we acquired some companies that really had an extension of back office. Think of back office processing as extensions to ERP systems. One of the most notable was Open Invoice, which is a electronic invoicing workflow approval system built for oil and gas companies. And that actually was a pretty large acquisition. There's roughly 50,000 suppliers submitting electronic invoices into the network and around 420 customers using the workflow application. So it creates an enormous network of customers using it. And it includes some other aspects as well, not just that as far as business automation, but the core piece of it is that we truly do automate those components, and we try to automate the financial processes for a customer, reduce paper, and give them insights. And Enverus is really strong on data science, AI, learning, and then applying that to the network to be able to give customers additional value in addition to just the actual workflow application.
Wow, love that. Love that. I can appreciate the value proposition behind that, having been in the procure to pay space for 20 years. I mean, you see the efficiency that can be gained from that level of automation, and your expertise and focus specifically in oil and gas only has to be an exponential improvement on what these technologies typically do. You and I have been working together for about a year now, since maybe even longer than that, when I think about going all the way back to the beginning of your selection or investigation process. Maybe you can talk just a little bit about how we got here, what was your evaluation criteria, how you ultimately selected CSI.
Yeah, so that's a great question, man. You're taking me back. So kind of if we come back to business automation, the supplier buyer network is pretty large. There's roughly 200 billion in spend that actually flow through that network, and almost 20 million invoices that are flowing through electronically. So there's a lot of transactions happening and integrating with various ERP systems. We have been asked by some customers around how do we automate the payment side of that. So we're processing the electronic invoicing and we're working with that, but it then integrates back to their ERP system and they're still printing checks. And we have a whole component where we print some AP checks for a few customers, but that's not a big piece of what we do. But we went out and said, well, let's go ahead and look at who the logical partners are to provide virtual cards. And then we actually created an RFP process, and we sent it out to all the leading fintech firms. You were one of them, along with some of your competitors, and most of all of your competitors, and then probably 3 or 4 of the top banks, and even some of the banks that we work with, because some of those banks are customers of ours, getting data from Enverus Business Automation in our oil and gas division. And as we looked through the RFP, one of the things we were looking for was who would really be the best partner. We looked at customer service. Like customer stat was really a big one. When we went and talked to, you can imagine with 6,000 oil and gas customers, we already have relationships within the supply chain group. We already have relationships within the treasury group with all across the company. And so we asked a lot of our customers what has worked and what hasn't in this space relative to virtual card. And overwhelmingly, we actually found that people had tried it with, in large part with banks, had tried it. And what they found was the customers, the actual the service of the suppliers, the support, the ongoing the support, the onboarding, when a question that the supplier had would come back on the customer, and the customers had to go build out their own kind of customer service team and implementation and onboarding team, and it actually became a net negative for them. And so we said, well, okay, let's actually go look at who doesn't have that. And it came with the fintechs clearly had a leg up on the banks in that area. And then it kind of narrowed down into technology and innovation and partnership. And CSI quickly rose to the top when we actually when we called your customers and when we screened your technology. This was a relationship we were looking at for the long term, so we couldn't afford to get it wrong. You remember how long did this take us? It took what, almost 6 to 8 months for this decision.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I remember it well.
And but CSI actually clearly rose to the top in all those categories, and especially on the innovation and technology. So as we're integrating Open Invoice and in your platform, that was incredibly logical, and your customer sat was out of the world.
Good, good. It was in my notes to ask you about how you evaluated CSI versus the bank, but I think you did a pretty good job illustrating that there. It's a very common, I wouldn't say it's an objection, but it's a question. Why wouldn't I do this with my bank? And I think your evaluation process probably helped you understand why.
Yeah, and we still see it, right? I mean, some of the banks, they're not all. It doesn't mean that they're not offering good service. It just means that that's not their core competency. It's not what they do. You can tell we're both working from home, right? I've got the trucks going by, so I'm sorry about that. But it's just not their core competency in what they do.
Yeah.
And that's one of the benefits of what we have, right? This is what we do, and we're 100% focused on it, and we're only successful. They're only successful if we're successful, right? So
yeah.
I think it's a great fit.
Yeah, I agree. I think usually when people understand that if we're not generating value for our clients, CSI doesn't get paid. So our whole business model is essentially aligned with the success for our clients, which creates a different mindset in terms of how we innovate, how we chase after the value proposition that we set out for ourselves in terms of goals with our clients. So I completely agree. How do you see the value? I mean, the linkage between invoice automation and payments automation, I like to describe that as the definition of a full AP automation, full transparency, full digitization of the process, if you will. But how do you define the value proposition of the combination of invoice automation with payments? How do you seek to represent that to the market?
No, that's a great question. I mean, we've seen some customers are, you and I've talked about it before. They're still somewhat skeptical. Oil and gas typically lags in technology. I think in the U.S., right, we've talked about digital payments lagging in adoption, and we're seeing that adoption increase. But customers, what we are finding more and more is they want less systems, not more. And so the more, there's obviously the rebate that you could create value on. We could quantify what that rebate is. We can quantify that through vendor match analysis working through you. You guys have done a phenomenal job on that. Really fast turnarounds that are thorough and very easy to understand. But oftentimes we're finding customers really receptive to eliminating friction points. We hear that a lot, especially within the tech and the financial and the supply chain groups. They want to eliminate processes and friction. And so as we can integrate a system like CSI and Open Invoice, we're already integrated into their ERP system. We're eliminating that for our customers, and we're providing value with a clean experience that's integrated, and they're not using multiple systems. And so I think that's massive value in and of itself. And in this new environment, working from home, that's another huge value statement right there. We've actually seen a record number of leads come in right now during the pandemic because people are working from home. They're not sure how to go in and print mail, handling the checks. And so we're with our partnership and working with CSI, whether it's true virtual cards, print mail, ACH, really being a one-stop shop um, for our customers to do full electronic invoicing, workflow automation, and payment processing.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. You said it. You said it. You said it well. I mean, your ability to combine efficiency and process improvement with monetization is just a winning combination. It doesn't cost anything. You've removed all the hurdles. It's a relatively straightforward process to implement. So yeah, I like the way you described it. Switching gears, last question, I guess, last area to explore with you is, as potentially other partners of or potential partners of CSI are watching this or listening to this discussion, I think one of the things that was a bit unique about the way we started this partnership is we really went through a framework together. We sort of had a partnership framework. Very early on, you and I sat down, we targeted a specific objective for you as a partner and what you wanted to deliver, both for your customers and yourselves as a remuneration for this effort. We put together a go-to-market plan. We've done some things differently. Our teams have been very close together. You and I interact on a regular basis. But how would you describe that experience with us? And has it been straightforward? Do you feel like it's been a good path? Maybe just talk about your perspective on the CSI Enverus partnership.
I think it's clearly exceeded our expectations. It's something that we were concerned about, and in fact, I even had a question from one of the members of our board, and rightly so, saying, I mean, this went to the board level as we were selecting, saying, is this the partner that we're going to have for the long term? And we went through our due diligence, and it clearly was, but we didn't know what it was truly going to be like working day to day. We thought we knew from due diligence, but we didn't know because we didn't have the experience yet. And CSI has exceeded our expectations in that I've been in sales for the better part of my career, running this business for the last 2.5 years as the general manager. So I have a very much an appreciation for sales, go-to-market, marketing, and how you have been engaged on our sales team's calls, our pipeline calls, working with our marketing team. We actually explored a relationship with another partner, one of your competitors, early on, and it was not nearly as integrated as this is. And so it was tougher, and that was a data point in the selection process. But I would say the success we've had to date, and the reason that we're beginning to get market adoption like we are, is because of the communication. And it's been incredible communication. Even with you, I can pick up the phone and text you, and you'll text me back within, if not minutes, within an hour or two at the latest. And so it's been a phenomenal partnership, and we're super excited about what the future is in store.
Fantastic. Thanks for and all of that sentiment is coming right back at you. It's been, I think we both recognized from the beginning that the two cultures were very much aligned, and I think you and I representing the cultures of the businesses that we're responsible for, I think that was a really good start, and all of that suspicion has now become fact. So I'm glad to hear you say that. Well, Chris, it's been a pleasure. I really do appreciate the opportunity to have worked with you in the past year. I'm excited about what's happening between our two businesses as we continue to see success in the market. And thanks so much for taking a few minutes today to talk about it. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, sounds good. Take care.